This is lesson 9.2, using mental math to multiply for grade 3 everyday math. This is the parent help video. There are no new vocabulary words in this lesson. Basically what we want students to be able to do, we want them to be able to use place value concepts to calculate answers to multiplication problems, to be able to kind of figure out the answers based on what they know about place value. We also want them to use strategies to solve one-digit by multi-digit multiplication problems. So an example would be, let's say we have 90 times 10. Okay, we want kids to know they're going to do 99 times 1. So they do 9 times 1, and then they put those 2 zeros on the end. So they're going to know that if they're multiplying a 2-digit number times a 10, it's going to end up as a 3-digit number for the place value piece. We want them to be able to think about the different strategies they could use. So if they have 70 times 4, okay, we want them to say, well, I know that 7 times 4 is 28, and then I can add one more tens place on there, one more place on there, okay, which is going to make the tens go from, make it go from a tens place to all the way to a 100ths place. Okay, and just being able to think about, well, I know that I'm multiplying 70, right, 7 tens by 4 ones. So if I come up with only 28 for an answer, that's not going to make much sense. Okay, first of all, that number is less than one of the factors, one of what we're multiplying by. So I have to remember to add that 0 on the end. Just sort of thinking about things like that. If kids have been practicing their fractions all along, not their fractions, if kids have been practicing their multiplication facts all along, then facts like 7 times 4 equaling 28 should be pretty fluid by now. Let's say we have 800 times 600. Okay, 8 times 6 is the fact that they're looking for. So they're going to know 8 times 6 is 48, and then they're just going to be filling in the zeros on the end. So adding the 4 zeros. And that's how we use place value, and also one of the key strategies they use is multiplying those basic facts by each other, and then just adding on the pieces that are on the end. So we want kids to really be thinking about that, doing those basic facts. Please continue to practice those basic facts at home. Have kids use the flashcards and use the multiplication and skip counting videos that we have to work with. That will really help. We want kids to be able to use a multiplication and division diagram to show multiples of equal groups. So for example, might have some diagram that looks like this, and let's say we have a number of students, okay, number of kids, and let's say that each kid, let's say each kid won a certain number of prizes. This is how many prizes. Alright, so 1 prizes, I'll say per kid, and then prizes in all. So this is an example of a good multiplication video, a good multiplication table here. And so multiplication diagram. So this is what we're going to do. Let's say we have 8 kids. Alright, and each kid won, well, let's use this example right up here, 6 prizes. Alright, and so how many prizes did they win in all? Oh, they would have won 48 prizes. Okay, so they would have won 48 prizes in all. And the other thing that we want to be able to do, so this was just a 1-digit by 1-digit, but we want kids to be able to say, well, maybe there weren't 8 prizes, maybe there were 25 prizes per kid. Okay, so instead of going 1-digit by 1-digit, we want to go 1-digit by 2-digit. And we want kids to be able to kind of think about that. So here's the kids, here's their prizes, and here's the prizes in all. Okay, we want kids to say, well, let's see, I know that 8 times 20, okay, 8 times 2 is going to be 16, so 8 times 20 would be 160. I can kind of think about that. And 8 times 5 is 40, so I could add those together and I could get 200. Okay, that's one way to think about it. There's multiple strategies we want kids to kind of work with. We want them to be able to multiply basic 1 digit by 2 digits, eventually just right in their heads, especially if they've been working on those basic facts. That should come along. We're also going to be working certainly with some strategies for them multiplying on paper as well. We have a few different strategies we use. And in fact, it doesn't matter which strategy they use, as long as they can do a strategy that works for them and gets the right answer for multiplication. So we also want kids to be able to make reasonable estimates for problems involving multiplication and repeated addition. So if a kiddo just looked at this and said, let's see, okay, I want to make a reasonable estimate for 8 times 25, well, maybe it's around, I don't know, 150, 250. That would be a reasonable estimate. If a kid looked at this and said, okay, 8 times 25, I think it will be 12, okay, that would not be a reasonable estimate. I think it'll be 2,000. That would also not be a reasonable estimate. So a reasonable estimate is something that's going to get them in the ballpark. Okay, before we call them ballpark estimates, we want to get them in the area. We want kids to get in the general area of the actual answer. All right, so that's a reasonable estimate. That's something that we're also going to be working with in this unit. So this is lesson 9.2, using mental math to multiply, for grade 3 everyday math.